Bases dropped, I think. Hang on. There we go. Bases dropped here for SDH. And, I am learning as we go here when it comes to our new software. You sit there and you look at something and you're kind of like, okay, this is cool. This will work. This kind of works. That's great. Okay. You hit a button, something happens. I actually got the countdown clock to work this morning. So, it's like small things. So, hi, John here, you there. It's a Friday. And what we wanted to do today, since things are a little weird with the calendar, we had New Year's Eve and New Year's Day like on a Wednesday. So all of our sleep schedules and all of our work schedules are messed up. And so it was one of those things where it's like, okay, so what do we do when it comes to year enders and getting you ready for 2025? And so I just kind of decided to push it to the end of the week. So this is the end of the week. So today, in addition to all the news that's going on, and there's some transfers and things and new franchises and new leagues and things, I reached out to as many friends as I could think of. And I wanted to bring them all in to talk about 2024 and to talk about 2025. And let's see how clairvoyant people are. And so we're going to be drifting in and out of conversations and things like that as we go here this morning. So wasting no time. Someone who has mastered Restream a lot faster than I have. It's our buddy Matt Webb from the Marshall Island Soccer Federation. Good morning, or actually, sorry, good afternoon, Matt. You're in London.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
As always. Oh, it's great to see you, my friend. Matt, for those that may not know, official title, Director of Marketing and Sponsorship for the Marshall Island Soccer Federation. And it's been really cool for us to be a part of this walk with you and with Technical Director Lloyd Hours and all of our friends there at the Marshall Island Soccer Federation. And you are wearing the new 2030, the no home jersey. I have mine. It is in the wash, and I'm trying to be gentle about it. And that was why I'm not wearing it this morning, is because it is getting ready to be worn consistently and displayed and shown. When I talked to you about 2024 and how big of a year it has been on multiple fronts there for the Marshall Island Soccer Federation, what has it been like to look back at 2024 and go, damn, we did a lot this year?
Yeah, I think collectively over the past few weeks and the past month, we have been doing exactly that. I don't want to say we've been giving ourselves a pat on the back, but we've definitely been really thankful for kind of what we've achieved, and actually a little bit in awe as well. I can't remember exactly, obviously, when last time it was we spoke, but I think we outlaid some quite modest outcomes. Like we hosted our futsal tournament in the end. But yeah, I mean, what we kind of achieved, starting with that futsal tournament back in July, the women's national team camp in February, even further back, which feels like more than a couple of years ago now, even though it's only less than a year. And then some of the smaller stuff, I mean, that's quite like showcase stuff. Hosting and playing international fixtures sounds great. But actually, fundamentally, some of the grassroots activities. So we've hosted kind of grassroots Special Olympics partnerships. So getting disabled players playing in Madro. We've kind of gone outside of the main island in the Marshall Islands for the first time and started to reach the outer islands and running weekly sessions there. And also doing kind of fundamental stuff in Arkansas as well for the Marshallese community. So some of that will go under the radar, but it's equally important to the headline stuff. So yeah, I don't think I'm trying to rack my brain for when we spoke last and like some of the objectives we outlined. We probably more than surpassed that. And obviously, it's not just myself on this project, even though I'm just talking to you. Obviously, Lloyd and Justin and some other team of volunteers, both in the US and in the Marshall Islands, have been, really working hard.
And we got the chance to catch up with Katie and find out what it's like for her to be a part of building things on the women's side as well. And I don't think we can express just how important it is to grow the game on multiple fronts. And you guys are doing it with just a lot of elbow grease. It's a couple of folks doing a lot of hard work and having it rub off and rub off and rub off. I mean, when you look back, how many days this year were you invested or involved specifically in doing something attached to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, you think?
I'd probably say in some way, shape, or form 365. I don't know if it's a leap year or not, but yeah, every day of the year. It's a conservative estimate.
How many days were you actually there in the chain, in the island chain?
So I've only been there myself on one visit, and I think that total maybe 14 days. If that, maybe a little bit less. I mean, another is one of those where we were there, but it felt like we were working non-stop. So obviously it's hugely enjoyable. So not unsure in any way, but time went very, very quickly. But I've only set foot on the Marshalls on one instance. Lloyd's been there a couple of times, and he'll be going back again in February.
What about what's going on here in the United States? Obviously, with the Four Corners, we've made a point to impress upon folks what's going on in Arkansas and Oklahoma with the Marshallese population that's there. There was some work that was done in the upper Midwest, up in Minnesota, with some work there as well. What about what you guys have been able to do here in the United States itself?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate objective of the federation is an organisation for Marshallese people wherever they are in the world, be that the islands. Obviously, with every passing day, more people migrate to the US. So the work we do there becomes more and more important. So as you mentioned, yeah, we were up in Minnesota in Camp Yokwe in July. We want to do a lot more in the US this coming year. So be that running kind of weekly sessions for the Marshallese population. It'll probably start in Springdale, but if we can extend out into other kind of population hotspots around the country, that would be great as well. But yeah, that's a definite goal for this year.
You mentioned goals for 2025. What else is on the dry erase board for 2025 for you?
We've got some real big picture stuff. I'll maybe allude to that in a sec. I don't know how feasible that is, but actually fundamentally, so I mentioned Lloyd's going back to the islands in February. So we're doing an inter-island futsal competition. So obviously, as you know, futsal's been huge for us, that kind of 5v5, small space, less people, cheaper cost as well. So we're going to do a Majuro versus Kwajalein and Ebi, which are the kind of two secondary islands. So we'll be having a mini inter-island competition, which again is a huge milestone for us as well. So we've got that to look forward to. The question people keep asking us is, when's your first 11v11 game going to be? I think we'd love to say it's going to be this year. So we're going to see how feasible that is. Obviously, you only get one first time. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do with that and whether it is feasible for this year. But I know that's a question people keep asking of us and probably going to be the biggest opportunity we have.
Does it seem like just yesterday that you and Lloyd and everybody had picked up this project, or does it actually seem like it's been a couple of years? Does it seem like it was yesterday, or does it seem like it was a couple of years ago?
A little bit of both, to be honest, because you're involved in it every single day. We don't really kind of switch off from a project. So with that, you don't tend to kind of really often look around and realize how far you've come. And then more recently, we have taken stock and gone, wow, like, can you believe 2 years ago that absolutely zero was in place? So we've only kind of recently just begun to, look back and go, wow, what has been achieved.
How can folks continue to help? What are some of the best ways folks can continue to help to build what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I should probably just supplant that and say everything we've done so far wouldn't have been possible without the kind of crowdfunding, the support of the people, and especially yourself, John, as well. Obviously, you've helped us with the merchandise we've got out there. So first and foremost, because we're not part of FIFA, we don't receive any external funding. So everything we do is through donations, through merchandise sales, such as the first jersey, and hopefully this one too.
Yeah.
And also kind of, even just if people can't donate in a monetary way or support us, just sharing our story helps as well. We're always on the lookout to get more people following us, engaged and learning about the Marshall Islands.
All right. So how was New Year's? What'd you do? Was it quiet? Did you actually, take some time to yourself and sit there and go, man, I'm going to take a breath? Or was it just pretty much putting the pedal down in the car and there is no rest for folks like you?
Yeah, no rest, to be honest. I mean, it was already Marshall Islands are one of the first countries to see in 2025. So we're off to a head start. So
there you go.
Yeah, we need to use that advantage.
Yes, absolutely true. So Matt, as always, great to see you, my friend. On the 280 character app, it is worldwide, but the E in worldwide is a 3, so it is worldwid 3 web, and that's where Matt is. And then obviously with MISF and everything there with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Great to see you, my friend. I'm glad we could catch up here as we start 2025, and can't wait to see things continue to grow and evolve there with the Marshall Islands. And we want everybody to wear the gear. We want everybody to have the scarves. We want everybody to wear the bucket hats, all the stuff, so that way we can show support for a greater story and a larger story that is far more important than a lot of folks may realize. Matt, as always, great to see you, my friend. Pass along our best to Lloyd and Justin and everybody. We'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, John.
There we go. That's Matt. And Matt puts up with us a lot. Guarantee it. Matt puts up with us like you would not believe. And the fact that we were able to grab the comet by the tail that is the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation and what's going on there. It's great to catch up with great to catch up with Matt for a couple of minutes, because Matt was overseas as we are. Matt was over at the home base in England, and so it was great to catch up with Matt and find out what's going on there and see what's going on with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. So if you have not purchased the gear, purchase the gear, bottom line, because it tells a greater story. And if you have not had the chance to be a part of what the Marshall Islands, or even read up on what's going on with the Marshall Islands, it's been an education for us. It has been it's been fulfilling to be able to continue to tell the story, because it is about more than just soccer and more than just the growth of the game. And so to be able to let everybody know what's going on there in the Marshall Islands and find out what needs to continue there. It's about global warming. It's about the environment. It's about not having about wanting to grow the game of soccer through futsal and education and all these different aspects of what's going on there in the Marshall Islands. But the fact that we've been able to help in our very small way to tell the story of the last nation here on this planet to try and have a national soccer program. And I would recommend following Matt, following Lloyd Hours, following the Soccer Fed MI, I believe is what it is on the 280 character app, and continue to learn about their story, to continue to see what's going on there in the Marshall Islands. And they, with Player Layer, they've done great work. And the fact that you saw Matt bust out the new 2030 jersey, the no home jersey. And that's because if things continue environmentally, there may not be a Marshall Islands to go home to. So it was very, very it was eye-opening for us, and those of us who have political science backgrounds kind of know what's going on. But for us to be able to tell that story, to continue to tell the story in our very small way, be a part of what's going on and grow the game there and grow the story from there. It's just been very, very cool. So once again, thanks to Matt for dropping by, especially batting leadoff this morning here on a Friday. What I wanted to do today, obviously, this is where you guys come in as a part, because, drifting in and out, and we're going to have guests. They won't be here for their full time. They won't be here for the full-time slots and everything. But I just kind of wanted to catch up with all of our friends and see what's going on. If they want to hang out for the entire time, they can. But I wanted to see if many folks could come by just to kind of share their stories for 2024, what their highlights are, and what they're looking forward to for 2025. So, Twitch Pitch, I come to you. What were some of your top stories and top things that you got to be a part of in 2024? What are you looking forward to the most in 2025? And we'll drift those thoughts in as well, because like I said, there is news to talk about this morning. There's big news out of the NWSL. There's more transfer news out of Major League Soccer and transfer reports out of Major League Soccer, where we were discussing individuals possibly coming back into Major League Soccer from different clubs where they were in the past, and folks who have exited Major League Soccer and are going to go play overseas. Young talent that we've seen here on the SDH network, as a matter of fact, heading out to Europe to apply their wares and continue to gain experience. So, what I wanted to do today, in addition to drifting the news in and out, top ideas and top stories and top stuff that you guys were a part of in 2024. And it doesn't have to be just specifically tied to your favorite club. What were some of your top stories in 2024? What were some of the top things that you followed in 2024? What are you looking forward to story-wise in 2025? What plots are you looking forward to seeing evolve in 2025? Like I said, since the end of the year was not at the end of a week, we came back on Thursday, and so I wanted to kind of apply it to Friday. So that's where we are here when it comes to all the things and all the stuff. So that's where we are. So I wanted to catch up with all of you guys and let you know what's going on here. So I broke out my San Marino jersey this morning. San Marino, or my sweatshirt this morning. San Marino, obviously one of the top stories in Europe because they won games for the first time in decades. And they are only a couple of wins away from being a part of the World Cup in 2026 here in this hemisphere. I know they're in Group F, but still. The fact that they won matches for the first time in 20 years, they were the worst-ranked team in FIFA, but no longer. At least they shouldn't be after knocking off Moldova and being able to catch up with press officers in Moldova and in San Marino after big wins, those kinds of things. So what are your top stories from 24? What are you looking forward to in 25? That's what I'm hunting for from you guys this morning as all the guests drift in and out and all the news that we have drifts in and out as well. So, morning Pars, morning Tom, morning Alex. And so that's, once again, storylines and stuff that's on your mind this morning. Here we go. All right. So this morning, in dealing with all of the stuff that's going on, so I want to let everybody know what's going on. There were a couple of things, and Tom Bogert, by the way, Tom Bogert and Ben Jacobs. That's who I was trying to think of. Ben Jacobs. They've been very, very busy this morning when it comes to all of the storylines that are going on overseas. So just to kind of give you an idea as to what's going on. Let's see. So, and this is kind of European based. Ipswich do not wish to sell Liam Delap in January, but the 21-year-old striker is drawing interest for 25. Delap firmly on Chelsea's radar. Manchester United, another club to watch. City do have a buyback, but have yet to seriously discuss triggering it. Ruben Amorim confirms Marcus Rashford likely to miss the Liverpool game through sickness. He is ill and not in training. I think he's going to be out. Amorim also confirms a long-term contract extension for Amad Diallo is near. The one-year option on Harry Maguire contract will be triggered. Enzo Maresca confirms that Aaron Anselmino will be assessed before a decision taken on a potential loan. Heading to Cobham to train with Chelsea from January. Chelsea always planned to bring in Anselmino back in January to assess him. Another loan within Europe is possible. Also confirms that Wesley Fofana could miss the rest of the season. Quote, unfortunately, he could be out for the entire season. We don't know exactly yet, but it's a huge loss. Serious hamstring injury for Fofana. Hasn't undergone surgery to date, but he could miss much or all of the season. Also on the board this morning, Ignacio Aguilo on Ruben Amorim. Quote, Manchester United, one of the biggest jobs in the world. He's a very brave manager and loves a good challenge. He's up for it. Things are going to take time, but he's super excited. We're very confident Ruben's going to show what he's got. Luis Enrique wants more of a central attacker in January. Jacob says, keep an eye on possible profiles like Christopher Nkunku if he asks to leave Chelsea, then Marcus Rashford. Enrique would prefer a profile like Nkunku than Rashford. Celtic exploring a loan move in January for Kieran Tierney that will likely lead to a permanent move in the summer. Also, once again, there is some substance to Napoli's interest in Marcus Rashford. Manchester United still waiting for concrete approaches. Also unclear whether United might make a wage contribution if a loan is sanctioned. Rashford has already said no to Saudi Arabia, and Ashley Barnes has rejoined the club, has rejoined Burnley from Norwich City. News out of the NWSL, and we have to get into this. Yesterday, it came clear that the new 16th team in the NWSL is going to be Denver. Eben Novi-Williams was the one who broke this over at Sportico. Denver has secured the 16th franchise at an expansion fee of $110 million, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. Backers of the Denver bid, principally IMA Financial Group CEO Robert Cohen, submitted their first payment to the league on Tuesday, said the folks that were in touch with Novi Williams, granted anonymity because the details are private. I guess they're not private anymore. The $110 million expansion fee more than double the previous NWSL record for new teams and is also the biggest expansion fee ever paid in U.S. women's sports. In addition to the top line price, the timeline of payments up front versus over a longer period, it's often a critical piece of expansion negotiations. Unclear exactly how much was paid this week, NWSL declined to comment. Cohen didn't immediately respond to a phone call and an email seeking comment. A representative for Inner Circle Sports didn't immediately return a phone call either. Sportico previously reported Denver was in exclusive talks with the league, but the NWSL has yet to publicly comment. The group will likely commit to spending a certain amount of dollars launching. Sixth Street-owned Bay FC pledged $125 million commitment at launch, which included a $53 million expansion fee. So you have the timeline being what it is for Boston and Denver. We'll get into Boston in just a second. Denver's NWSL bid, led by Cohen, who is supplying a significant portion of the financing and would be the team's controlling owner. Former Obama administration official Ben Hubbard, who is the CEO of Denver-based insurance company Parcel, sports business executive Tom Dunmore, Foe's CEO Nicole Glaros, and former NWSL player and current league analyst Jordan Angeli are also part of the group. Other investors still coming on board. Group has said it plans to build its own soccer-specific stadium, but will play in a temporary venue until that is ready. What temporary means, we don't know. Are they building something modular, or are they going to play in some place like Commerce City and pay rent to Kroenke Sports and Entertainment and play out at Dick's Sporting Goods Park? We don't know. But the wording by Novi Williams and Sportico, playing in a temporary venue. Don't know, once again, if temporary means they're doing something themselves. They're going to play at the University of Denver. They're going to play someplace like that, or they're going to play in Commerce City. Don't know. Denver was one of the three finalists alongside groups from Cleveland and Cincinnati. Remember, Cleveland Soccer Group and Cincinnati FC and FC Cincinnati were the two groups that were tied to those particular cities. Rest of the expansion fee will be paid in sections, according to Sportico. NWSL added two teams this past year, Utah and Bay FC. The Boston-based club, like I said, we'll get into that in just a sec, will join the league in 2026, agreed to pay the same $53 million expansion fee as Bay FC. Utah had previously an NWSL franchise and owned an expansion option. Angel City, San Diego, and Utah each paid the $2 million-ish to get into the league in 2020, 21, and 22. Bay and Boston paid 53. Denver's paying 110. Recent WNBA expansion teams in Toronto and the Bay Area agreed to pay $50 million, with the group in Portland paying a slightly higher fee. The value of NWSL teams has grown in recent years. Recent sales valuing Angel City at $250 million. Remember, that was the Bob Iger Willow Bay purchase. And San Diego Wave at $113 million. The average club is worth $104, according to Sportico's September team valuations, up 57% from the prior year. So looking at the valuation rankings, once again, Angel City, top valuation at $250 million on revenue of $35.4, 39% increase year to year. Kansas City Current, coming online as an expansion team, their valuation was second at $182 on even more revenue, just over $36 million. 1 year valuation change of plus 141%. San Diego Wave, up 47% in value, up to $132 in valuation on revenue of just under $24 million. Bay at $121 had revenue of $22 million. Remember when they had their franchise opener, they were out the door. You could not get a seat, something that was, I'm sure, looked at by San Jose Earthquakes and going, man, I wish we could figure out how to do that. Hopefully, Bruce Arena will have those lines reinstated. When it comes to fans, you've also got to win games. Washington Spirit right now, number 5 in valuation at $95 million on revenue of just under 12. Their increased valuation is 74%. Portland Thorns at 92, Courage at 91, Gotham at 80, Reign at 78, Houston at 74. Houston, by the way, named Patrice Gautreau their new head coach. Racing Louisville at $73 million valuation, Utah at 70, Orlando at 68, and Chicago Stars at $53 million. Everyone's valuation is up at least a third, except for the expansion teams, and that is because, once again, you've been in business less than 12 months. You don't have a year-to-year value change. Spirit up 74%, Thorns up 40%, Courage up 75%, Gotham up 2/3, Seattle Reign up 59%, Houston 46%, Racing Louisville 54%, Orlando 52%, Red Stars, then Stars now. The least increase in value change year to year at 34% on revenue of $6.5 million. Thing about Chicago is they've got to figure out their venue, they've got to stay in their venue, and they got to get butts in seats. But the mere fact that in the NWSL, the 14th club has a valuation of $53 million on revenue of $6.5 million. Everyone's value increased by at least a third year to year. TV deal has a lot to do with that. Now it's up to the NWSL to continue to invest in players, invest in talent, invest in long-term growth. And you'll have Boston and Denver as your 16th, 15th, and 16th franchises coming into the league. So it will be interesting, once again, to see how the league continues to grow. Now, we were discussing what was going on with Boss Nation. Yeah, they haven't changed it yet. From our friends at the Blazing Musket and Jackie Contreras, they provided an update, meaning Boss Nation did, after collecting fan feedback over the past month. The team requested the public's opinion after receiving criticism over its rollout campaign and has since held meetings with supporters, athletes, advocacy organizations, and other community members. This is one of the stories of 2024, but for not the right reason. Commentary taken into account as the club builds their identity. They've also arranged a listening session with Boston and New England women's professional teams in an effort to develop collaboration within the community. You'll remember the Too Many Balls campaign and fans continuing to push for a name change. Boss Nation lacked creativity, according to fans, reminded them of bro culture. Others said the name is not meaningful and doesn't reflect women's sports or Boston's history or diversity. One comment said, quote, a professional women's soccer team should have a name that celebrates women and reflects their values, not something that panders to men or feels disconnected from the sport. Many of the responses expressed disappointment combined with a desire to support the club and urged the team to reconsider the branding. Inclusivity, boldness, and integrity were among the values fans believe the team should embody. Supporters also emphasized the importance of transparency and more community involvement as the Boss Nation identity develops. How not to launch a brand. Boss Nation. One of the stories of 2024. So we'll see how they rebound in 2025. Speaking of 2025, Tom is in. He says, man, I really don't want Miggy going to Charlotte. Don't understand folks saying they'd be happy for him. Right now, the number that is being attached is still in that 16 million range. And it is, is it going to continue to slide? According to PA Sport, Charlotte still hopeful of striking a deal, was a target during the summer. 7 of his 10 appearances this season have come from the bench as he has slipped down the pecking order for Eddie Howe. Reports from the States have suggested a deal has been agreed with Charlotte's assistant manager, Christian Fuchs, confirming an interest. However, the PA news agency understands that while initial talks have been held, no agreement is yet in place. Remember that Newcastle paid £21 million back in 2019 for the switch for Miggy to go from Atlanta to Newcastle. He's also been linked to Santos, Botafogo, and Olympiacos. So is this $16 million? Is it just a number? Is it going to continue to move? And where does Miggy want to go? Does Miggy want to come back to the United States? Botafogo would give him a chance at chasing after a title. It would be pairing him. He would continue to follow the Eagle Holdings track involving Thiago Almada. Almada goes to Eagle Holdings, goes to Botafogo, and then goes to Lyon, which is right now where the track is. Does Miggy find a way back into the Premier League at Crystal Palace if John Textor continues to own Palace at that point? Or does Miggy go Botafogo and then Ligue 1? Santos, Botafogo, Olympiacos. Eddie Howe has indicated the club are unlikely to be busy during the winter transfer window as they try to make sure that they can get things done in the summer. Sales of fringe players, according to PA Media, would ease the pressure to comply with profit and sustainability rules and perhaps create a measure of flexibility should the right deal be available to strengthen the squad. So Tom's follow-up. What if Miggy says no, would only come back here? Does Charlotte lose his rights once an offer is made? No, I mean, it's right now. I mean, he is. Are you saying, Tom? Let me ask you this, Tom. Are you saying that Charlotte agrees, the deal is signed, then Miggy says no, or are you just saying Miggy says no, I don't want to go to Charlotte, and Newcastle has to do something else, and he just sits on the bench? What's your order of thought pattern here when it comes to Miguel Almiron? I mean, Miggy could say no, then Miggy just sits. Charlotte doesn't spend any money, and it ends up being just what it is. So are you saying that what if Newcastle agrees with Charlotte and Miggy says no, or are you just saying what if Miggy says no? If Miggy says no, then he just sits. If Charlotte and Newcastle agree and Miggy says no, then Miggy's not going anywhere. Charlotte's not spending any money, and Miggy sits. It's just one extra step, I would think, in this whole process. I think it's more likely that Miggy ends up going to Botafogo or Olympiacos because I think they would be the ones, or Santos, Botafogo, Olympiacos. I think those international clubs are more likely because, once again, you are early in a window. You're early in a window. So, well, and the main question is Charlotte retaining the rights. Tom's question is. I mean, first off, he'd have to be purchased. But if Miggy doesn't want to go, it doesn't benefit Charlotte and it doesn't benefit Newcastle if Miggy just sits. So if he doesn't want to go, he's like, no, I'm not interested. Then my guess is the deal becomes null and void. He goes back to Newcastle and he goes back to sitting, and Newcastle goes back to the drawing board when it comes to finding a dance partner. Can Charlotte block him? I assume Charlotte is the they. Can Charlotte block him from coming back here except to them in perpetuity? I would imagine no. Because then you get into restraint of trade and things like that. I mean, if you can go to the court of arbitration for sport, but the thing is, if Charlotte and Newcastle were to agree, then like I said, this is just me extrapolating all of this information. If Charlotte and Newcastle were to agree to terms, and Miggy says, I'm not going, I'm not interested. First off, the agent for Miggy would have to negotiate with Charlotte for personal terms. So it would be the teams talk. Okay, Charlotte says, okay, we'll give Newcastle, we'll give you $16 million, pounds or whatever. Then the player would have to agree to personal terms. And remember, this was the stumbling block the first time, that Charlotte and Miggy's agent did not agree to personal terms. And that's why the deal fell apart. So if it even gets to that point again, and this is what gets, this is what gets to me here, is the idea of, okay, well, if you didn't like going the first time, then what would change your mind in the second term? If you were mad and didn't want to go in the first place, what's going to change your mind? More money? I mean, what's gonna change your mind the second time? You getting more money? Was that what the ultimate stumbling block is for the agent and for Miggy to come to and for Miggy to go to Charlotte? So teams agree. Next stage, agent and team discuss personal terms. So it would have to be an improvement in the personal terms from the first time that this deal was having its tires kicked. And then if you don't agree, then there is no deal. So it's not, I don't think it's a thing with blocking Miggy or anything. He's still Newcastle. So to me, I don't know if Charlotte has the financial wherewithal to do something like this. So here's the let me get a salary totals, roster summaries, U22s. Right now they only have Nikola Petkovic as a U22 and Shvedursky as a DP, and they're looking to get rid of Shvedursky. Shvedursky wants to go back to Europe. So you have 6 that are 2025 non-actives. You have 8 that are supplementals, and you have Abada as a young DP, Shvedursky as a DP. You've got Westwood, Urinen, Kalina as TAMs, Brandon Cambridge as a homegrown, Petkovic as a U22. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of money's being spent. So let's go to the MLS Players website and just look at the Charlotte figures. Bart, by the way, feels like Charlotte's just doing it to get a dig at Atlanta. Remember his resolution about them. Stop worrying about Atlanta, worry about you. So salary guide Charlotte. So let's go to the MLSPA. Let's go to the MLSPA website and check and see what was being spent on Charlotte players. And this is, all I'm doing, because you know that this is going to be stuff that's going to be more than 7 figures. Like I said, let's walk down this road. But what if Miggy says he'd only come back to us in Major League Soccer? Obviously, yes, correct. Then Atlanta would have to agree to a deal with Newcastle, and then Atlanta would have to agree to a deal with Miggy's agent. Same process. Charlotte had almost $2.5 million spent total on Leo Labata. Pep BL had 2.2 north of that spent, and they're looking to see if they can bring BL back. Then Shvedursky at 2.25, 2.258, and that's it. You had 3 players north of $2 million. Everybody else is under 7 figures last year, according to the MLSPA. That doesn't sound to me at face value like a club that will be spending a whole lot of money. They're going to want to bring BL back if they can. Try to get him in that $2 million range, I would imagine. Swiderski, is he going to be here? Is he not? At the end of the day, it's going to come down to Zoran Kernetta, David Tepper, and the desire to spend money. I don't think that Charlotte, unless they're breaking the bank in a way that we don't know, I don't know if Charlotte can match what Miggy's agent wants to have Miggy paid to come back to Major League Soccer. I just don't. I mean, I'm thinking out loud here as a part of this. But there are a lot of other teams spending a lot more money that might be interested in a player like a Miguel Almiron. But the three players that you spent money on, Swiderski, looking to go back. Biel, not under contract. And who was my third? Leo Labata. Three players making north of $1 million. Everybody else making less than $1 million. And those three are from 2 to 2.5. I don't see it. I still think that Botafogo and Santos and Olympiacos, I think that the international angle in all of this, that's to me what makes more sense, because those teams are going to want to drop more than the anticipated $16 million. I think if it gets to 20, somewhere in there, don't be surprised if an Olympiacos wants to make this kind of a deal, because then what it does, if I remember correctly, I think that's what I thought. Evangelinas Marinakis owns Olympiacos. So that would give Miggy an in to come back into the Premier League with possibly more of an active role at Nottingham Forest. So, like I said, if you look at it this way, with Almiron and Botafogo, that's Eagle Holdings. If you look at Almiron and Olympiacos, that's Evangelinas Marinakis. So those are ways to get back into the Premier League currently, getting more minutes elsewhere, getting back into a playing rhythm and a playing routine, and then getting back into the Premier League. So like I said, I'm looking more at the Santos, Botafogo, Olympiacos angle than I am the Major League Soccer angle when it comes to Miguel Almiron. Speaking of former Atlanta United players, it appears Brandon Vasquez is getting closer and closer and closer to returning to Major League Soccer very, very quickly. It has to do with the folks of Austin FC. So Austin FC would be the possible new place for Brandon Vasquez to come back in. And keep an eye on that. And Austin FC has been very, very busy in the offseason. Remember, they picked up Ilie Sanchez, and it was you're seeing a bit of a rebuild with new front office, new coaches, this kind of a thing. Although Nico Estevez is still intriguing as a thought for a new head coach. So your senior roster right now in Austin: Bukhari, Dessler, Driussi, club option for 26. Gallagher, Brendan Heinzike, Zan Kolmanek, Jader Obrion, Diego Rubio, Brad Stuver, Svatok Vysanen, Micah Burton, Farkarlan, Damian Loss, Biro Cascante, Cleveland, Fodry, Daniel Heel, Ilie, and Owen Wolf. Your DPs: Bukhari and Driussi. Kolmanic is your U22. So there's some wiggle room in there, and we'll see what we're staring at. OG, Don't see Miggy coming back to MLS this soon. It would be like a step backward. Well, and at the same time, OG, what does Miggy want at 30? Does he want to continue? He wants, I think, from what we've been able to glean and what we've been able to read, that Miggy has been wanting to prove his place at Newcastle. So, what does Miggy want to do? Does Miggy want to stick it out at Newcastle? Does Miggy want a new opportunity? Does Miggy want a new opportunity to tie him continually to England? Does he want to uproot his family again, go someplace else? Does he want to stay in England? What does he want to do? All indications he wants to try to stick it out at Newcastle and earn his spot. But obviously, you get to a point to where I don't know if, we're going to let you earn your spot. So we'll see. Bart Keeler joining us at the top of the hour. So we can talk about 2024 from a Soccer for USPOD perspective and look at 25. Another move that happened yesterday, announced officially by the Revs, Esmir Bayraktarovic, who is a certifiable pain in the butt. Bayraktarovic, we got the chance to see him in MLS Next Pro. And with New England Revolution 2. And so he has been moved to PSV Eindhoven for the next stage of his career. I'm intrigued to see how well Bayraktarovic does at Eindhoven. But you're continuing to see Kurt Onalfo and Caleb Porter try to put their stamp on what they want New England to be. 4 players have been moved from New England to San Jose because of Bruce Arena wanting them. And so now Bayraktarovic has moved on, which is intriguing in and of itself because now senior roster for New England, you got 22 players. You also have 4 DPs. Campana, Chancalay, Carlos Heel, and Giacomo Vrioni. Chancalay coming off an injury. Leo Campana, obviously he is going to be one of the new focal points there in New England. But you've got some DPing that you've got to figure out. Senior roster spots, only 8. Boateng, Bai, Campana, Chancalay, Heel, Ivacic, Panayotu, and Matt Polster. 4 forwards, a keeper, 2 defenders, and a midfielder. Supplemental spots to Peyton Miller, Will Sands, and Santi Suarez, all defenders. Non-active, no Buck, Ceballos, Luis Diaz, who was brought in, Andrew Farrell, Mamadou Fofana, Malcolm Fry, Luca Langoni, Demario McIntosh, Vrioni, Jackson Ewell, and Al-Hassan Yusuf. So Langoni's your U22. You got some DPs that you got to sort out. And New England for me is going to be one of the storylines of 2025. New England, sir, what do you plan on doing with yourself? Sir? You've traded away, I was about to say half, but you've traded away 4 players to San Jose in and of itself. You brought back in Jackson Ewell. You no longer have one of your young stars in Esmir Bayraktarovic. What are you formulating here in New England? What are you putting together? What are you piecing together in New England? Just asking. Like I said, I'm just asking because I am intrigued. I'm intrigued. I am truly intrigued by New England and what we are looking at in 2025. See, now I'm still trying to figure out what damn year it is. I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know if that means that that I'm, that I'm trying to figure things out still. By the way, CR39 had a sit-down interview. His contract, I believe, is running out in Saudi Arabia. Cristiano Ronaldo says, I'm happy. My family's happy. Started a new life in this beautiful country. Life is good. Football is good. Most important thing is to be professional, to push hard, respect the club, respect your contract, and believe that things will change for Al Nassr to try to win more titles. The AFC Champions League is something I want to win for the club, but the most important is to keep pushing and be professional. I will continue to push and help Al Nassr to win titles. I believe that this year will be a good year for Al Nassr. Okay, sure. You go right ahead, sir. You go right ahead. Yeah, I am, how do we say? I am not all that optimistic. I think he's in the last year of his contract, and literally, I'm like, what have you done? Oh, it's almost like Zlatan. I've conquered the Saudi Pro League. Sure, you have. You go right ahead. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. To get us into the weekend, like I said, Bart Keeler coming in a couple of minutes. We can talk about things on a national team level and 2024 and getting you ready for 2025. Once again, this is from the four-letter paper. Rashford rejected 3 bids from clubs in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, worth up to £35 million a year. He favors a move to Barca. Okay. All right. This is making my head hurt. When you have players who say they favor moves to Team X, yet Team X has financial issues that are worse than some do. Now, this would be a conversation. If Barcelona's, if like Florentino Perez say, if somebody in the Barcelona front office called Dave Ramsey, what do you think that conversation would be like? Legitimately, what do you think that conversation would be like? If Barcelona called Dave Ramsey, if Barcelona called Dr. Laura and explained their situation, Dave, I run a business. Dr. Laura, I run a business. And we have, okay, so how much, what's your income? And you say, well, this, and this. So, all right, so what's wrong? Well, we're in debt because of this, and this, and we have like $1 billion in debt, and we've sold off half of our TV rights. We've sold off our TV studio. We put the Spotify logo on our jersey just so we could try to, get a big name attached to our stadium. We put the big name on the stadium as well. We put the logo on our jersey. So what's the problem? Well, we're broke. And a Marcus Rashford, say, is interested in not playing for his current club, but he's interested in going to play for this team that is broke, that cannot afford him. Do people not knock on players' doors or like text them or WhatsApp them or whatever folks do these days and explain the current situation to these players? So, Marcus Rashford, I get you want to play for Barcelona. But Barcelona called up Dave Ramsey, called up Dr. Laura, and said, we have a situation. We can't afford to pay our bills, or we have to leverage everything so we can pay our bills. Do players around the planet not quite understand that this is an issue? You can't go to Barca because of X. Well, I want to go to Barcelona. Well, I want to win the damn Mega Millions. That doesn't mean that that if I don't buy a ticket to the lottery or to the Mega Millions, that's the first stage in me going, well, I can't win either of those. Barcelona has to, like, I don't know, be solvent first and foremost for something like this to happen. I'm just saying, if you can't pay your bills and you are a player on the world stage, do you not realize this? Marcus Rashford, well, I want to go to Barcelona. They can't pay you unless they get rid of like 18 players or something. They can't even have Danny Olmo under contract. And you want to go to Barcelona. What makes you think that you would be going to the front of the line in a situation like this? That all of the common sense that is attached to all this stuff would just be put by the wayside. We're going to put common sense over here again. And we're going to sign Marcus Rashford. With what money? Well, we'll come up with something. But you can't register Danny Olmo right now. Marcus Rashford, well, I want to go to Barca. That's not how this works. Or at least it's not how this should work. Dave Ramsey and Dr. Laura would tell you to get over yourself and pay your bills. Barcelona's like the wimpy character from Popeye. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Yeah, we'll gladly pay you if you give us money up front, we'll take care of the situation later. Does Marcus Rashford and his representation not quite understand? Are you not looking at the headlines? I know that you're an incredible footballer, and I know that your team right now is 14th in the Premier League, and I know that we talked about relegation the other day, which is not going to happen because here there are teams in the Premier League that are worse than Manchester United. But does Marcus Rashford not realize that, sir, there's a problem here? Barcelona can't pay who they have currently. They can't register who they want currently. Marcus Rashford, well, I want to go to Barcelona. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. I'm going to put a bookmark in Marcus Rashford for a minute. Okay. It's after the top of the hour. So Bart's coming in. So, Bart, I was slightly – what's the mug this morning, by the way?
We got Arsenal on the mind this morning.
Okay, well, considering that I was yelling and ranting about Marcus Rashford saying that he wants to go to Barcelona, and I was just anticipating the conversation that Barcelona would have with Dave Ramsey or with Dr. Laura.
Yeah.
It's like, well, can you pay your bills? Well, no. No, you can't sign Marcus Rashford. You cannot go to Barcelona.
John, I think Barca is going to have to this is going to sound really bad, and it's not my club, so apologies to anyone out there whose club this is, but maybe they're going to need to, for like a season or two, accept the fact that they need to control their spending.
No, we can't have that. No, sir. We can't control our spending. We can't even register Danny Olmo right now.
I know.
And Marcus Rashford's like, well, I want to go to Barca. No, that's not how this works.
No. They need help. They need help, John. They need the advice of a certified financial planner. They need the advice of a certified public accountant. They need the advice of name any venture capitalist in the United States, and they probably need their help.
Oh God. No, like I said, I was going through the headlines and all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and I saw that Marcus Rashford, he's not interested in going to this place, but he wants to go to Barca. No, that's not how this works. Okay, sorry. I yield the bookmark there. from 2024, and this was what I wanted to do today, was kind of, since this
Happy New
is
Year, by the way.
Mazel Tov. Yes.
Welcome to 2025.
Yes, and to new technology and to new places where we can do new things and try to broadcast and crash systems that that I'm trying to get adjusted to. From a 2024 perspective, what are some of the stories and storylines that stuck with you at Soccer for US POD from a national team perspective and an international perspective involving U.S. soccer?
I think 2024 was the year of the coaches in U.S. soccer. We waited a long time to get Emma Hayes in, and it paid off greatly. We saw her impact on both individual players and the team as a whole. And on the flip side, you had a year that was mired by a coach that probably shouldn't have been retained, certainly shouldn't have been rehired. And we saw what happens when you settle for not pushing forward. And unfortunately for the U.S. men, that culminated in getting bounced, getting grouped in Copa America. Now, that said, it does bring in Mauricio Pochettino, who likely would not have been available the first time around when we were looking for a new coach for the 2026 cycle. So now that we do get him, it's pretty exciting and fun. But yeah, I feel like the coaches kind of dominated the headlines for this year because a lot of the conversation was about them. Fortunately for the U.S. women, Emma's arrival allowed the individual talent to shine, and we saw Triple Espresso make a name for themselves this summer. Probably a summer too late. Probably a summer. You just think about what would have happened if you had a little bit better structure around this team heading into the 2023 World Cup and what they could have done. And that's something that I think I felt vindicated about when I look back at 2023. So we're going real back in time here, John.
Mm-hmm.
And the analysis that I had after the World Cup was we've still got the talent. I watched these women play for their club. I watched them play on the national team, and they're still very talented. The problem was you weren't using the talented players the way that they should be used. And now you feel like you have a much better idea of the strengths and weaknesses of this team going into 2025 and how they can possibly be fixed or supported even greater. Specifically talking about that midfield and how a new one named Lily Johannes might help out. So that was kind of the fun final headline of 2024, and I think is the for me the stories going forward. It's the players for both the men's and women's national teams and how they can truly shine under much better coaching.
What about someone like an Alyssa Nair, who basically, in very Nairian fashion, to create an adjective, was just kind of like, I'm out. And
Yep.
It was just one of those things where you're like, oh, well, that fits. I mean, that, she's
Yep.
very stealthy when it comes to her presence. You sit there, and I think that there might even have been times where we took Alyssa Nair as a talent for granted because you always
Definitely.
understood she was going to be there. And then in Nairian fashion, teams overseas, and she's like, you know what, I'm done. And it hits you like a sledgehammer. But once again, I think that's what Alyssa Nair did on the field. Is it's like she's there, and then she has her moments where she hits you with a sledgehammer, and you're like, damn, this is what we got. And now it's, damn, this is what we don't got going into 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, when you look at what I said about players going forward, the individuals, this is going to be one of those areas where a lot of individuals are going to, hopefully, John, they're going to have opportunities to, show us what they have, exhibit their talents and leadership. Because I don't think Alyssa Nair ever got the true love she deserved until this past year, right? I think in 2019 specifically, you kind of didn't know if you could trust her the way that we had trusted Hope Solo. And part of it because, personalities. Hope Solo demanded attention,
Yeah.
demanded respect. I don't know if she was always due respect for certain
Understood.
things,
Yeah.
but certainly on the field, she was. She and Nadine Andrew are arguably the two best women goalkeepers to ever do it. And between the two of those, they have 3 World Cups, and there's a reason. Um, I think Alyssa Nair, it took a while for her to convince the women's national team fan base that she truly is worthy of the discussion of greatest women's national team uh, goalkeeper of all time. She has now equaled one of the former greats of Brianna Scurry, who had a gold medal and a World Cup championship. She now has a gold medal and a World Cup championship. And she's been a part of the team for a long time. But I think Alyssa Nair retiring is kind of what we've all been wanting as an official end, if you will, to a generation of greats that unfortunately just overstayed their welcome a little bit. And not Alyssa necessarily, but that generation as a whole. We saw a lot of them in 2024 call it quits. Say, hey, I'm tired. I want to raise a family. I want to have knees that work in 20 years. And they decided it was time for them to end it. Again, maybe a little too late, but they did. And some of them still continuing to play club ball, which is great. I think Alyssa Nair is a great example for that, John, that we haven't seen a whole lot of in the women's national team, and hopefully a new journey into the future of the women's national team not having to just be your job. It can be the thing that you do outside of your club realm. But yeah, it's when you look at 2025, that is the biggest, most fun, hopefully fun, John, hopefully fun position battle you're going to see on the women's national team is who's going to play goalkeeper, and hopefully we don't have that on the men's side. Hopefully that might be a resolution is goalkeepers go actually play goalkeeping for the men's national team. But that'll be fun for the women's national team. And you look at 2025 is who's going to seize that number 1 jersey.
So who are you looking at that should seize it? And is the should seizing going to be different from the individual that will seize?
Well, I don't know, John, because I think if you were to say the odds-on favorite is Casey Murphy, who's kind of been seen as the heir apparent since the 2023 cycle really started get going. She played a lot under Vlatko, which I do think is something that I hope Emma takes from Vlatko, is he wasn't just playing Alyssa Nair to play it Hope Solo, the reason that transition, that handover was so nerve-wracking for fans is because Hope Solo played every minute of every game for the women's national team.
Yeah.
Nair played a handful of friendlies, I think, because Solo was either getting married or had an injury of some sort. And so when you look at that transition, Casey Murphy comes into this with several mini games under her belt. Now, the last one we saw her wasn't great. That goal that she conceded against Iceland was a little sketchy.
Yeah.
And certainly all on her. But she's the odds-on favorite. Now, there are tons of others. You've got Fallon Tillis-Joyce, who I think made a smart move in the long run, maybe not in the short term, but in the long run, of going to Manchester United. She's now their number 1 over up in Northwest England. You've got, from NWSL, the problem that I have is there's a lot of actually really good goalkeepers. I've always advocated for Katie Lund. You saw Mandy Hout get some shouts at the end of the year. There are good goalkeepers in NWSL. Jane Campbell, the hometown girl, probably in that discussion still, as she's, she is always been seen as a third choice option in the recent history. So there are legitimate contenders, but I do think that right now the person in the driver's seat is still Casey Murphy, but she hasn't looked great for club or country over the past year. So she's got to figure that out on her own.
All right. Since you mentioned keeper, what other position groups are in change/flux going into 25 after what we saw in 24?
Well, I think The other one I talked about early was midfield, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if it's a personnel issue as much as it's Emma needs to figure out exactly the balance of the midfield, which does include some personnel, but I think the personnel we've seen. We know Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Horan are insanely talented. How do they fit in? You've got Sam Coffey, you've got Hal Hirschfeld, you got Corbin Albert, you've got Lily Johannes. You've got some other young players in NWSL that, you have 2 years till the World Cup. How do they progress? Claire Hutton from the youth national teams. Jalen Howell just got a new move that maybe can help her get on an actually competent soccer team for the first time in her young career. You've got Jaden Shaw, who didn't have a great 2024. Hopefully, coming back into 2025 can recapture that brilliance. And then you got Corey Bethune, another one with some local ties, who got hurt at the end of the year throwing a first pitch. John, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
And she has an injury recovery to deal with. What does she look like? She still set the league. She still led the league in assists despite missing like 3 months of play after the World Cup.
Yeah.
2 months. So there are a lot of, to me, again, it's not necessarily names, but how you put those names together in the midfield. That's going to be the difficult thing for Emma to figure out, because the back line to me feels solid. Now, there needs to be some fullback discussion. The left back situation, I think it's Casey Kruger's, but we've talked about it. She's on the wrong side of 30, as well as, Crystal Dunn, who no one's seen or heard of, and we're just all assuming she's pregnant, and congratulations to her and her family. It's probably good for her. We're not expecting Crystal Dunn back in the women's national team picture anytime soon. So you got Casey Kruger, who I think can hold down that left back spot. You've got Emily Fox on the right side. And then obviously, center back is going to be a position battle, John, but it's not a concern. You got Naomi Girma, and then who's a really good center back who's going to be next to Naomi Girma. That's not a battle of like, oh my gosh, how's this going to work out? It's going to be Davidson. It might be Emily Sams. Alana Cook might come back into the midfield or the picture. Who knows? I think we feel comfortable with the options. I mean, even Emily Sonnet has proven herself pretty darn capable. Eva Gattino, like there are names that you go, okay, I feel comfortable enough, because they're next to the greatest player of this sport that we currently have. Men's, women's, I don't care. Put her up there. She's the greatest right now.
Naomi Girma and whoever's playing next to Naomi Girma.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
that's how you fill out. That's how you fill out your lineup card.
Yeah.
It's like Naomi Girma and you.
Yeah, so exactly. Put Jarrett next to her, so you just have a tall body, and then there you go.
Well, just make sure that Jarrett has 2 functioning cleats. I think first and foremost, I think that's what we got to stare at there. I mentioned in hour number 1, since we're on women's soccer, that it is going to be Denver that is going to be team number 16 in the NWSL to the tune of $110 million. And I don't know, like I said, and this is from Iba Novi Williams at Sportico, don't know where they're playing. The word that he used was temporary. Yeah. And that's nebulous to me, because I don't know if that means modular temporary or if that means rabid prairie dogs in Commerce City, Colorado at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. I imagine that's what it means, but it was nebulously worded. So Denver turns into number 16.
My inference, John, is it means Dick's Sporting Goods Park, but I think that ownership group, unlike the ownership group that owns Colorado Rapids, as I hold up my Arsenal mug,
KSE, yes.
I think they picked a cheap spot, not a good spot. Now, I will give them this. In the last decade, as Denver has expanded and grown and tried to make itself a more legitimate place for people to move to, Commerce City seems like it's built up. When I was there last, I didn't go to Commerce City, but you go on the stop by the train station, and there are things there now, John, which is a grand improvement.
Oh my God.
It's a shopping mall type of deal, but it's not quite the Battery. But the problem is that the park is still about a mile north of that, so it is a problem. But the positives are, John, you have a group of owners with the money, right?
Yeah.
And millions a lot. But more importantly, as we're seeing with the other expansion team, John, and I heard you talk about them and their I hate to call them stumbling blocks when you do it to yourself. But whatever you want to call it, stumbling blocks.
It's literally like
Yeah.
when you're having a fight with your older brother and your older brother's grabbing you and it's like, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting
Yeah, it's very they're all self-inflicted wounds up there in
self-inflicted.
the New England state.
Yes.
But unlike them, they have soccer, maybe not soccer, they have sports people in this group, and they have a soccer person in Jordan Angeli. I don't know what her level of I'm hoping they use her as a knowledge source, because obviously I don't know, no offense to Jordan, I don't think she has the capital to
Right.
really make an influence. But the fact that she's listed,
Bring your wallet, Jordan.
yeah, the fact that she's listed, she's putting obviously some money into it. I do hope that she is kind of she gets some sort of actual position
Yeah.
in soccering there, because the rest of the group looks pretty solid. And again, they have a former sports executive there as well. So hopefully from that perspective, John, way more prepared to take the field in 2026 and whatever that you've already blown whatever the hell is going on up in Boston, because Boston Nation has done nothing but bad since they got it. And I would just say, John, if I'm looking at them and you bought your franchise rights for 53 million,
Sure.
and someone else just bought a franchise for 110 million, why don't you just sell it? Why don't you sell it? Cash in now. You're all venture capitalists. Just cash in and take your money and go home. It's a 107% increase.
Yeah. And I went over the franchise valuation increases from year to year that Sportico had also brought in. And even for Chicago, don't call us Red Stars, on revenue in Bridgeview of $6.5 million, you still increased the value of your franchise by a third.
Can I get my hot take about Chicago Red Stars?
Absolutely, sure.
Well, this has been my hot take with the Chicago Soccering for a while.
Yes.
Bridgeview is actually a decent stadium. I think the stadium itself is pretty darn.
Not in dispute.
Yeah, I think the stadium is fine. The location is absolutely horrendous, and
Yes.
we all agree on this. As someone who has been to that stadium multiple times, the only reason I was able to get to that stadium is because I have cousins who live in the area who can drive. You can't get there without that. It's very Turner Field-esque, but Turner Field was still closer to things.
Yeah.
I think Chicago needs to just lean into Bridgeview.
Okay.
For the time being. We don't know what's going to happen with Soldier Field. I think your hope is the city realizes that a 35-ish thousand seat soccer stadium, maybe 40,000, who knows, rectangular sports stadium.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, is a legitimate use of public land for the future.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very clear the Bears aren't going to stay there much longer. They dropped a spaceship on Soldier Field and now they want to leave.
Awful.
I hope that Chicago leans into Bridgeview. It's our home. This is where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do that and you give people the illusion, if you give them the illusion of stability, of permanence, I think more people are going to be willing to buy in. Now, you also, John, and this is where teams who rebrand always get it wrong. You then have to be good on the field.
Yeah.
And they had a decent season last year, made playoffs. How do you build on that with your new little logo that is terrible, and you had a perfect logo and name before that?
Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Fire 2 play at Bridgeview.
Yeah.
And because you're not getting an MLS Next Pro team that's going to, be worthy of an attendance, worthy of paying the rent on the spaceship.
Right.
Which is full disclosure. The boss and I went up to Chicago, when was it? 2 weeks ago. And to drive by that entire complex where it's the planetarium and it's the aquarium and it's the spaceship, you're going, that's just
Ugly.
ugly.
Yeah.
and you thought that was worthy of of putting a keeping the facade and then building all the fancy stuff and creating what you've created there in that hub of activity on the lakefront. And I mean, there had been talk when USL Championship was debating going into the Chicago area, and it was going to be in the suburbs south of Comiskey Park, where they were going to do something that was going to be, I want to say 20 to 25, and it was going to be something manageable. And then that talk went away, and that franchise has not been discussed over the last handful of years. But to go, Bridgeview's what, an hour southwest of downtown?
So it is right. This is the conundrum of Bridgeview. It's right close to Midway.
Okay.
So yes, southwest of the city.
Okay.
It's still fully in Chicago.
Yeah.
That most people consider that Chicago, right?
Yep.
That's like saying Decatur is not Atlanta. It's Atlanta.
Yeah.
But it is. I don't know how you get that close to a large airport and you're not accessible via public transportation.
Mm.
And John, I know you were there when they built Soldier Field, but
yes, I was.
It is sad because you do have Soldier Field was one of the great stadiums, I think, of the country.
Yeah.
Obviously, it had to be modernized. We all understand that for a couple of reasons, but
yeah,
what they did to it was sacrilegious, and I understand there are legitimate hurdles to that because Soldier Field is literally an historic site.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Bridgeview, the stadium itself is fine. You can make it very cool. I mean, from the person who was there when it opened, you are so close to the field. It is really cool. That is one of the things that it got absolutely bang on right. It has a very intimate setting. There are ways that you could improve the around the stadium infrastructure with a little minor things. Bring in food trucks, bring in, a shipping container merchandisers, stuff like that. Make it'll still feel a little temporary, but make it a little bit better than what they do down in Miami, and you'll be fine. Just find a way to commit to it.
Yes. Commit. Damn you. Men's side. Obviously the big story was Mauricio Pochettino, but
you got him.
Yeah, you got him. Now it's like when it's like the old Coyote and Roadrunner cartoon. It's like now that Wile E. Coyote finally caught the Roadrunner. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now that you caught the Roadrunner finally?
Well, the biggest thing for Poch is you have, and I mean this sincerely, March comes, end of March. You're doing this, you got to play another CONCACAF tournament because CONCACAF has to have a tournament every 6 months. Otherwise, it apparently can't operate. I don't know how this happens.
Nice.
You've got a chance to win your 4th Nations League title of the 4 times you've played it. John, we played this damn thing 40 times since 2001. Like, can we just stop? I like it in general. I'm sorry, this is going to be a tangent. It's Friday, whatever.
Friday.
I don't know how you feel, John, but I don't think the Nations League does itself any favors when it's played every damn year. It just because it does lose some of the fun of allowing teams to build up to it. And I'm glad that from a CONCACAF perspective, they've allowed the U.S. and some other teams to not have to get seriously, stuck in the quagmire of playing teams like St. Kitts and Nevis, which doesn't really help the program grow outside of hosting a match that they can make money off of. And even then, they barely sell those games out because no one cares.
Right.
I'm glad they've allowed us to use some of those early match windows as friendlies. But anyway, back to Pochettino. I win that, John. You have to, because look, Berhalter did it. And if Berhalter can do it, you got to be able to do it. You're lucky, a little bit lucky. Panama's still good. Not arguing that. But you play Panama in the semifinal, then you play the winner of Canada, Mexico. I think playing Mexico with a full strength squad, not in Mexico, honoring one of their greatest players that's ever played. I like your chances. Also, I like your chances against Canada because, run hard is not a tactic. And, I think Jesse Marsh, while he talked big game, I would like to see our team try to figure out a way to beat that. And I think we can. Obviously, the last time we played, we had substitute teacher in charge. And that is the biggest task for Pochettino. Now, the second one, John, is obviously Gold Cup. These are two tournaments that I think, again, you have to win because you have to assert that you are the best team in this region.
Right.
You lost that last summer.
Oof.
You can't be the worst performing team at Copa America from this region and go, yeah, we're still on top. Maybe not the worst, but you know what I mean. And especially when you're looking at teams like Canada and Mexico, especially Canada, which, they're thumping their chest about the semifinal appearance, despite scoring like 2 goals the whole damn tournament. You have to assert your dominance. Now, I don't know if Gold Cup necessarily does that because who knows how you're going to get players to be available, what players are going to be available, what level those players are. We are lucky enough that we have a great dearth of talent now, both domestically and abroad, that you might be able to get, a lot of guys. I mean, shoot, you still got Richie Ledesma at PSV who's playing a whole lot that you could call in. I mean, we do have those types of players.
Well,
now.
I would call in Bayraktarovich from PSV before I call Richie Ledesma.
That's on my list of things that I do want to talk about because there's some stuff going around on Twitter that I just don't agree with. But Bayraktarovich, I think he is with Bosnia now. I want to say he played a friendly with them.
Okay.
I think he is technically a Bosnian international, but I don't think that's necessarily a. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a Bosnian international now. So,
okay.
Slightly unfortunate there, but yeah, win your CONCACAF tournaments because you have to prove that you're the best. Now, Nations League, I think, is the one you absolutely have to win because we all know that is the A squad for everyone who's participating. We know that Gold Cup is a little iffy. Again, they have to play this every 2 years because if they don't, CONCACAF will cease to exist for some reason. This is what we've been sold. If you don't win Gold Cup, but you make the final, okay, fine. Depending on who you have, but this is where Pochettino is going to have to do a little bit of coaching. That thing that Kirby Smart couldn't do yesterday. He's going to have to do a little bit of coaching.
Oh boy!
And he's going to have to figure out how to probably win a tournament without his best players available. Yeah, there's my dig at Georgia. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I kind of anticipated something like that happening. But position groups, what position group concerns you the most coming out of 24, and which one do you have the most hope in going into 25?
Well,
because this isn't Naomi Girma and whoever we put up next to Naomi Girma.
It is center back, though, John, is the issue. Because the thing about 2025 is you are, in theory, getting Serginho Dest back. So that's a good thing, right? He should be recovering from injury. And you're not going to get him back for Nations League. May not necessarily get him back for Gold Cup, but I think we know that the right back position is okay enough. Joe Scally can do an okay enough job. Now, do you bring in a Marlon Fossey? Maybe you bring in a guy like Richie Ledesma, I think he's going by Richard. I don't want to.
Richard Ledesma.
Yeah, I think he's going by Richard.
But if he's going to go by Richard, you've got to go Esquire. You can't.
Richard Ledesma Esquire.
Yes.
You have options who could back up Scally. I mean, that is an option, but we didn't see that in the last window, which was a little weird. We just had Joe Scally and I don't know, one of Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, or maybe Tyler Adams. Who knows? I don't know if I love that, but sure. Fullbacks are okay. Midfield is okay, John. I think the thing with the midfield is you've got to pray, hope, expect that eventually Johnny Cardoso is going to actually be the Johnny Cardoso that he shows you week in and week out in Spain. That's kind of how I feel with Malik Tillman as well, where eventually the dude's going to have to, eventually he's going to finally play a good game for the U.S. national team, right? The real problem for this team going forward is center back. I mean, we don't have Naomi Girma.
She can't play. She can't play
No.
on both national teams.
No, I don't think she can. I think her hamstrings would give out. Chris Richards has established himself at Palace. I think the only game he's really missed recently is because he had to welcome in a new child, which congrats to him.
Mazel tov.
But CCV is playing at Celtic. Well, they just got whipped by Rangers, so who knows what that means.
Oh boy.
And Austin Trusty's also at Celtic. Mark McKenzie at oh crap, where is he now? Troyes, one of the French teams that I can't pronounce. Toulouse. Sorry, not Troyes. Toulouse.
Yeah, Toulouse.
There are options out there, but none of them give you confidence, and even Chris Richards doesn't give you that much confidence. There's a reason Tim Ream continues to get called up, John.
Yes.
And so when you're looking as a U.S. men's national team fan, you have to be concerned about that center back position because it is so unsettled, both who is playing and how you feel about when they do play. So, we need Noah Cobb to come good in about a month and a half.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. You said you had a rant that you were going on. Did you already go on the rant, or did you have another rant that you had in your hip pocket?
No, I went on that rant about CONCACAF and all their foolishness, John. You know what? Shoot, I want your take on this because I understand CONCACAF has issues.
Sure.
With the type of federation it is, a very top-heavy federation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of, to me, it's a mix of Oceania and Asia.
Sure.
Where Asia has one or two really good programs.
Yeah.
Not great, but good.
Yeah.
You see them in a World Cup, you're like, I don't want to have to play them, right? You don't want to play Japan. You don't want to play the USA.
Right.
You don't want to have to play Korea. You don't want to have to play Mexico.
Sure.
You don't want to have to play Iran. You don't want to have to face Canada in a World Cup type thing.
Okay.
But a lot of the teams below them just aren't up to snuff.
Well, I mean, Jamaica comes up and bites you in the butt occasionally, especially if you've got a keeper who's, if Andre Blake is 100%.
John, you have not listened to me. Never trust the Jamaicans. You're not listening to me. I keep coming on here and telling you this. Don't trust the Jamaicans. But no, I mean, that's the same thing about in Asia. Sure, you might get I don't know.
You get a South Korea,
a Saudi Arabia, who could come up and be good. But, you also have the Oceania problem where a lot of these countries are island nations and don't have the money to support a football team. I mean, we're over here in the U.S. trying to support a football team in Oceania. We're the network right here is trying to prop.
Yeah, man. We're growing the game, damn it.
Right. And so, you have a lot of countries that are dependent on another country for just existing. They barely can fund their own international football team. And it is hard for CONCACAF. So you have to manufacture ways to get revenue outside of the norms. But the problem continues to be, as a spoiled U.S. fan, as the entitled U.S. fan, I'll say that we don't want to play Jamaica every other time. We don't want to have to play Panama or Costa. We want to play Germany. We want to play Brazil. We want to play Chile. We want to play England. We want to play France. We want to play even teams like Sweden and Norway. We want to play teams that feel like just bigger competition, have better players we watch week in and week out in the top leagues of the world.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get better. It's just factual. CONCACAF, the bottom may get better, but that's not functionally helping USA, Canada, Mexico, even teams like Costa Rica, Panama, to get actually better. Because even if St. Kitts, Antigua, Curacao get better, their ceiling is still below our floor. And that sounds really arrogant. I'm sorry. It's just the reality.
Yeah,
the U.S. and Mexico
it's the resources that they have available.
Correct. The USA, Mexico, and Canada, when they get help from people who aren't Canada Soccer, they have resources from both from capital, financial capital and human capital that are just going to outnumber. I mean, and so CONCACAF forcing us to play Nations League every year is not good for us. And you're seeing the attendance dwindle too, John. Last time around, you didn't have sellouts. In Arlington, where you expect to sell out because it's basically North Mexico. You're going to be in LA this time. Maybe that helps. You're going to play on a field that's too narrow because again, ownership of that stadium doesn't realize that soccer is a real sport. And maybe that'll help because you're in LA. It's a slightly different venue. You hadn't played there yet. But I just cannot get down with this vision of constantly hosting. I mean, because yes, I get it. You sell out 40,000 seats or sell 40,000 seats. That's still a lot of money. Is the juice actually worth the squeeze though? And that's what I just keep asking, because you've got, again, a summer where you have a Nations League followed by a tournament. And the world of soccer is still not sold on the Nations League concept yet. I don't think the Europeans are fully sold. I think they like it. They enjoy having some competitive stakes to the, maybe not England because they can't do anything in the Nations League. But, I think, teams enjoy the competitive stakes. But I'm sorry, England being in League B and still playing, who were they playing earlier this year? I mean, Ireland even is a better competition than the U.S. having to go and play Trinidad or El Salvador. I'm really sorry. It just is.
Yeah, that's
England played Greece, Finland, and Ireland, right, in their Nations League B group.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than Curacao, St. Kitts, and even Jamaica to an extent. I'm sorry. It just is.
Yeah.
And it does come down to resources. I'm sorry, it does. But it just is hard for the U.S. to actually functionally improve. And you saw that last World Cup. Yes, CONCACAF had a really bad World Cup. But the USA, Mexico, and Canada all fell flat in that World Cup when it came time to actually do something,
Yeah.
US, we got out of the group, sure, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not helping us, and therefore I'm allowed to not like it.
Yeah. All right. So to save things for Monday when you come back in your normal time slot, my last question for you.
I'm sure we'll have some reffing down here to talk about.
Oh,
absolutely. The whole weekend of Premier League action.
Absolutely. My last question for you on this Friday is, what do you think happens to John Herdman?
I think he has to go coach I don't know, Kiribati or something. I think he'll probably find a job. I truly do. I think it just depends on how much the investigation will actually investigate him.
Yeah.
Because Bev Priestman isn't going to be able to work in soccer anytime soon from both, legally, and then if someone will hire her, because she's going to have to prove that she actually can get the job done without drones. And to be fair to Herdman, not fair. Well, no, fair. To be fair to Herdman, he hasn't proven he can manage team without the help of drones either. It's not like Toronto had a season to write home about. They didn't make the playoffs. No. We beat them to the playoffs. Are you Atlanta United beat you to the playoffs? Toronto, the mighty Toronto FC, all up there in Toronto trying to tell us how good you are with all these star players. Couldn't beat us out for the playoffs. Are you kidding me? We were terrible this year. This is one of our worst years in club history, if not the worst, of a full season. And y'all couldn't beat us out to the playoffs? Come on now.
Now, what do you think happens to Bev Priestman?
I think Bev will have a little bit more of I think she'll eventually get an assistant job with some national team again. And that will help her kind of work her way back in. I think that's what the report will end up saying. John Herdman started all this. Bev Priestman just kind of continued it. And I think from that standpoint, they'll be more, the world of soccer will be more willing to forgive Bev Priestman.
So Bev Priestman is Bobby Collins from SMU, where John Herdman is Ron Meyer?
Yeah, exactly. I think, and again, if she's an assistant at, I don't know, go back to England and be an assistant for the next coach there when Serena Wiegmann finally steps away, because she makes a final that doesn't win again. Yeah, that's my prediction for 2025 is England makes the Euro 2025 finals but doesn't win.
So it's not coming home.
Well, no, it came home last time, John.
Okay.
Came home last time. And Serena Wiegmann can do one thing and one thing very well. She can win a damn home tournament. That woman can do that. She did it with the Netherlands. She did it with England. I think Priestman will find her way into an international coaching staff of some sort. I really do. I think you'll look at like USA, maybe picks her up. Maybe, I don't know. England probably could. Obviously, she's British. I think she's English. I don't want to offend anyone who's British and not English by calling her English, and then she ends up being like Welsh or something. I forget. I think that could happen. I could see her possibly taking over a team like Ireland, a team of that stature, where they'll be okay with hiring her because they say, well, we still think she's a good coach even without the drones, because look, there's cheating and then there's applying the cheating, right? We see this in NASCAR all the time. The joke of if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yes.
Well, you still got to execute once you cheat.
Yes.
I mean, Bill Belichick was a great cheater. You still got to execute once you cheat.
Born in Consett, England. So Bev Priestman is
English. Okay, cool.
Straight up.
I knew she was British. I couldn't remember if she was English or not.
Straight up English. Born in Consett, England, wherever Consett, England is. Okay, so at Soccer for US POD, at Bartimus Prime 19. Bart will be back on Monday to discuss reffing down here and anything else going on with his beloved Arsenal, and anything else that sticks in our collective craw over the first competitive weekend here in 2025. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Thanks for everything that you are when it comes to the SDH network and all of our growth, and being our national and international voice when it comes to everything MNT and WNT, sir. It's always
someone's got to talk about something other than England. Although I did a lot because we got to throw shade at them. But
yes. Yeah,
I appreciate it, John. Thanks for all you do to make this network run. Thanks for the new digs. I got to.
Yeah. Well, this is just as Jason with the new digs, man. You're
making it run, which I think is the impressive thing.
That's very loosely said that I'm making it run. So learning as we go. But as always, my friend, enjoy your weekend. Be safe. We'll catch up with you Monday at 10 o'clock.
Y'all be good, and I hope your 2025s are full of success, abundance, and happy feelings about Atlanta United.
Yes, success, abundance, and happy feelings, as always. Be safe, my friend. And there goes Bart. All right. So morning, Harry, and great to have you here as well. A couple of other notes from our buddy Cesar Luis Merlo. Type A source. Remember, this time of year, check your sources when it comes to information and people moving in and people moving on, people moving around. So a couple of notes from Cesar Luis Merlo involving player transfers. It appears that Messi and friends may be chasing after Tadeo Allende. The former Godoy Cruz striker will arrive on loan for a year from Celta de Vigo. So Tadeo Allende, now you get to send people scurrying to YouTube to try to find out what's going on with Tadeo Allende going from Celta de Vigo for a year on loan to and previously from Godoy Cruz, but Celta de Vigo to Messi and friends. So Tadeo Allende on loan for a year, according to Cesar Luis Merlo. So keep an eye on that particular announcement. Also, Matias Rojas, formerly of Messi and friends, looks like it's a 3-year deal for him going to River Plate. So keep an eye on that one as well. And then the other move that was posted forth in the ether has to do with Emiliano Rigoni. Rigoni, formerly of Austin FC, it looks like he may be headed to León. He is, it looks like, according to Cesar Luis Merlo, a 1-year deal to go to León. New signing for León, signing a 1-year contract. So Allende from Celta de Vigo on loan for a year to enter Miami. Matias Rojas to River Plate. And Rigoni, formerly of Austin FC, to Leon for a year. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to those particular transactions. All right, so picking up gossip, rumor, and innuendo where we were, going over the whole idea of folks in Barcelona, and no, you can't go there. Literally, it's like what's her face from the frickin' Willy Wonka, Veruca Salt, and I want it now. You stomp your feet. I want to go to Barca now. Well, you can't, but I want to go now. Everyone and their mother who wants to go to Barcelona, they can't pay you. They can't pay the club what you want to extricate the player from his current status. They can't pay you. They can't pay your club, but I want to go now. However, United could use Rashford to tempt Napoli into a swap for Victor Osimhen. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Dortmund and PSG are showing renewed interest in Rashford. That's from Team Talk. United could sanction 3 loan deals in January to free up funds in their £80 million pursuit of Victor Gyökeres from Sporting. Remember, we talked to our buddy Nino Torres about that. United could activate the £25 million buyback clause in the contract of Benfica wingback Alvaro Carreras, who they sold in May. That's from the Star, which is a step below the 3 and the 4-letter paper. Manchester City's Kyle Walker is wanted by 3 clubs in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, according to the 3-letter paper, so it would fit. Villa are in talks with Borussia Dortmund over a move for Daniel Malen. We talked about that yesterday. The Bundesliga club values him at £25 million. Liverpool and Manchester City considering January bids for Dani Olmo after Barcelona. Remember, Barcelona failed to register Dani Olmo. Failed to register means didn't sign him. Not once, but twice. And players still want to go to Barcelona. Kind of hard to do. Failed to register Dani Olmo not once, but twice. But Marcus Rashford, I want to go to Barcelona. No. Liverpool and Manchester City considering bids for Dani Olmo. Liverpool have had no contact with AC Milan over a move for Darwin Nunez, despite reports in Italy claiming a 6-month loan with a £41.5 million obligation to buy deal possibly taking place. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Amad Diallo on the brink of signing a contract extension with Manchester United. Arsenal eyeing a deal for Evan Ferguson from Brighton, but face competition from Fulham and West Ham. Athletic Bilbao forward Nico Williams, also a target for Arsenal, and the Premier League club could trigger the £48 million release clause. Spurs and Wolves are interested in England defender Ben Godfrey after falling out of favor with Atalanta. Everton will not entertain offers for defender Jake O'Brien in January. Real Madrid are watching Bournemouth center back Dean Hewson as they ponder a January move. 3-letter paper. The Matai Akimboni deal apparently has gone completely thumbs up because the pictures are now out on social media with Akimboni holding up the jersey. Juve could pursue a loan deal for Manchester United's left back Tiro Malacia until the end of the year. That's from Tutto Mercato. Ipswich and Everton eyeing a loan move for Villa winger Jadon Philogene. Spurs stepping up their interest in Sam Johnston from Wolves. Spurs could also miss out on Denmark left back Patrick Dorgu, with Lecce increasing their transfer demands to more than £30 million. Fiorentina trying to reach an agreement with Liverpool to sign Federico Chiesa for £5.8 million. Players' reps will hold talks with Liverpool bosses this month. Fikayo Tomori wants to stay at AC Milan despite interest from Juve. That's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Manchester United are looking for ways to offload Antony in January. Real Betis showing interest in a loan move. Spurs, Leicester, Bayer Leverkusen competing for the signing of Udinese Danish defender Thomas Christensen. Leicester among several clubs considering a move for Manchester United left back Harry Amas, who is only 17. 4-letter paper, take the information at your own peril. Sheffield United considering re-signing a forward, either Southampton's Ben Brereton Diaz or Las Palmas' Ollie McBurney, in a bid to boost their promotion hopes. Either would be a good pickup in my guesstimation. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. So keep an eye on those, especially for the clubs that are looking to try and find ways to boost their work and their worth heading into the January window. Andy Hunter at The Guardian. Everton have confirmed the date of the first game at the new Bramley Moore Dock. 3 test events during the current season due to stage full capacity matches in August. 3 test events. First on Monday, 17 February, when the U18s will play a friendly in front of 10,000, opponent TBA. Everton's U21s are going to play a friendly before a 25,000-seat crowd available late March, early April, depending on the successful completion of the first test event. And a third game at close to or full 52,888 will be held later in the year. No competitive matches can be held at this stage. The 10,000 crowd for the first event housed in the south stand of the £800 million development, including the rail seating. Club hopes to open the entire stadium for the second test event. Reduced capacities in each stand. Tickets for the first 2 matches priced at £5 for adults, £2.50 for concessions, will be allocated via a ballot that opens today. Everton manager Sean Dyche has said that there have been no inquiries for Dominic Calvert-Lewin in this transfer window, despite the striker approaching the end of his deal. Calvert-Lewin's deal expires at the end of the season, and Atalanta reportedly are interested. There's been no contact from anyone, bound to be rumor and conjecture. That's the nature of it, end quote. And Dyche also said that Everton unlikely to take disciplinary action against Neil Maupay for his comments on social media. Unconcerned about the comments from Neil Maupay. Apparently, Plymouth Argyle scrapped a film about Wayne Rooney after Wayne Rooney left. So they were doing a film about Rooney being in charge there at Plymouth Argyle. Now that he's no longer in charge, they're like, yeah, we probably don't need to run that. We probably don't need to continue to build that particular film. It's probably not a good idea. So if you were looking for the Wayne Rooney to Plymouth Argyle film, it's not going to happen. Apparently, Spurs injury crisis for this weekend. We'll get into gossip. We'll get into juice boxes in a sec. Spurs injury crisis compounded by an illness running through the squad before their game with Newcastle on Saturday. Spurs already without 9 players for the match at home to Newcastle, including first-choice keeper and 3 of their 4 central defenders, who are all injured. Tom Alnett at the Times. Postecoglou gave players Monday and Tuesday off after the draw with Wolves on Sunday to help them recover. And so now he says there's a bit of an illness bug running through the squad. We'll be okay, he says. We mentioned what Spurs are up to in the window, what everybody's up to in the window, where you're playing 7 matches probably in 3 weeks across multiple competitions. Richarlison, Mikey Moore could be back next week. Postecoglou said Van de Ven, Romero, and Davis not expected to return until the back end of January. Udogie out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury suffered against Wolves. Vicario and Odegaard are even further behind. The Italian keeper likely to be out until the end of February. Betancourt suspended for the match against Newcastle after he was booked with Wolves on the weekend. Holy ish. So if you're in fantasy, maybe you should go chasing after Newcastle. Find a way to get Alexander Isak on your roster. Legitimately. Find a way to get Isak on your roster for this weekend and going forward. And if you are in the juice boxes, like I said, we'll get into juice boxes in a second. But you probably could take the over. We'll get into the over in the juice boxes and see what it looks like here. coming up in a sec. Let's see. Managerless Plymouth got a point in their first game with after Rooney's exit. All right, so let's get into juice boxes for the Premier League as we go. Here on the weekend, and we'll go over the standings and let you know where everything is. This weekend is normal. Next weekend is FA Cup. So keep an eye out for all of that. So Premier League, juice boxes. 7 matches tomorrow. By the way, Spurs and Newcastle is the early match. Spurs, get this, Spurs, a dog at home at a plus 184. Newcastle favored at home, or favored on the road at a plus 124 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. 10 o'clock, you've got 5 matches. Villa, big favorite at home against Leicester at a minus 323. Bournemouth favored at home, big favorite at home at the Vitality at a minus 137, hosting Everton at a plus 376. Leicester, by the way, north of plus 815. Crystal Palace, home dog to Chelsea. Chelsea's a minus 108. Crystal Palace a plus 266. Manchester City, big favorite at home to West Ham at a minus 333. Southampton, a home dog to Brentford. Brentford a plus 139 at St. Mary's. Southampton is a plus 187. Brighton is the late game hosting Arsenal at the Amex at 12:30 Eastern Time. Brighton is a plus 338. Arsenal of minus 125. Sunday, 2 matches, 1 at 9. Fulham and Ipswich. Fulham's a minus 172. Ipswich on the road a plus 450 at Craven Cottage. Liverpool, Manchester United. Liverpool can hold Manchester United down for yet another weekend, heading into FA Cup play. Liverpool a minus 333 at home, hosting Manchester United, who's almost a plus 800. Monday Night Football, Wolves and Nottingham Forest. Forest favored at the Molineux on the road at a plus 127. Wolves a plus 227. And that is that's what you're looking at when it comes to Wolves and Nottingham Forest. It is, once again, staggered schedule, 4-4-2 on the 14th and 15th and the 16th. But once again, 7 matches tomorrow in the Premier League. Your standings, Liverpool, match in hand, 6 points clear of Arsenal. 14-3-1. Liverpool's lost only once in the Premier League at the halfway point of the season. Close to the halfway point of the season. 6 points clear. Arsenal at 39 points. Forest at 37. Chelsea's lost 2 in a row. They're at 35. Newcastle 5th at 32. They've won 4 in a row. Manchester City is 6th. They've surrendered 12 points from winning positions this year. Those 12 points would have them at 43 points. Behind by 2 with a match in hand. Instead, they're at 31 points. In 6th. Bournemouth, unbeaten in 5. They're at 30. Fulham ahead of Aston Villa on goal difference at 29 points. Brighton is 10th at 27. Spurs have lost 3 of 5. They've only won once in their last 5. Spurs are at 24 points, well ahead of Brentford on goal difference. West Ham at 23. Manchester United 14th place. They've lost 3 in a row, 4 of 5 at 22 points. Crystal Palace is at 20. Everton's at 17. They only have 1 win in their last 5. They only have 1 point in their last 4. They only have 3 points in their last 4. Wolves at 16 points, just out of the relegation zone. Ipswich has won 2 of 4. They're at 15. Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton. Southampton's won only once at the halfway point of the season, 1-3-15. They've only scored 12 goals. They've given up 39 goals in 19 matches. So that's why they are at 6 points right now in the Premier League. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Yesterday, if you had the chance to watch Old Firm, long day. 3-0 win on the board yesterday. Crazy. It's a 3-0 win on the board yesterday. So Old Firm, definitely a stunner. Supercoppa Italiano semifinals in Saudi Arabia. But because of course. Right now today, Ligue 1, 3 o'clock, Nice and Rennes BN and BN en Espanol. If you don't have the BNs, you don't have Nuestra Tele, CDO for the fans, Liga 1 Max, Liga 1 Max Pro, Teise, our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV. You can get all that at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps us out, helps out our friends at Fanati's, helps you out being a true degenerate. Liga 1 Max, Liga en Espanol, BN en Espanol, 3 o'clock. Valencia and Real Madrid, ESPN Deportes at 3. Just starting Gulf Cup of Nations, the final on the Plus, Oman and Bahrain. Copa del Rey has 3 matches on the Plus at 1 o'clock. Racing Ferrol, Rayo Vallecano, Granada, Getafe, Pontevedra, Mallorca. Valencia, Real Madrid, 3 o'clock. A-League was up early this morning, and they're going to be around late tonight. 5:45, Perth Glory and Western United. Bam will be pleased about all of this. A-League Women, 10 o'clock tonight, Wellington and Perth. And then 2 o'clock, once again, Juve and AC Milan in the Supercoppa Italiana semifinals, which will not be in Italy. They'll be in Saudi Arabia. By the way, on the weekend, if you want to keep track of what is going on involving our friend Caleb Wiley and what's going on in Ligue 1. Ligue 1's got some they got a lot of ground to cover. And Strasbourg is not up and running, which is strange. So hang on just a second. Now that my interest is peaked, it's like, where's Strasbourg? Where is Strasbourg? Come on now. All right, so France, Ligue 1. Strasbourg is 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. And they're playing Auxerre, and they're slightly favored at home at a -114. Auxerre is a +300 on the board. Highlights from what to watch on the weekend. BN triple header on Saturday, Ligue 2 at 8 o'clock in the morning. Serie A, 9 o'clock in the morning, CBS Sports Network. All the matchups in the Premier League, either on NBC, USA, or on Peacock. Fox Deportes has Serie A, Universo simulcasting, Telemundo simulcasting. A-League is on ESPN. The Plus has the Copa del Rey all day Saturday. Paramount Plus has Serie A, English Championship, all day on Saturday morning, 7:30 and 10. 2 matches at 7:30, 3 at 10 o'clock. League 1, Wrexham and Peterborough United's also at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. That gets you into Sunday. More Ligue 1, more Super Cup, more Premier League at BN en Espanol, USA, Peacock, all those places. Gold TV, Santa Clara, Firenze. And don't forget our buddy Nino Torres calling the heavyweights on Gold TV and the Portuguese Primera on the weekend as well. Check your juice boxes and check your times. Copa del Rey's on ESPN Plus. English Championship, Sunderland and Portsmouth is Sunday morning. Serie A, quadruple header, 6:30, 9, noon, and 2:45. Scottish Championship, Hibernian Rangers at 7. Motherwell and Aberdeen at 9:30 on Sunday morning, and that gets us to Monday. All right, so that's another go-round of another week here on the SDH Network. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll do it again on Monday morning. So thanks for all of your thoughts about 2024. We're getting into 2025. Should be Abe and Bart joining us on Monday morning, and we're back into the normal routine of everything going on your Monday. So thanks for hanging out with us on the new software and the new studio space and everything. And I've got to tell Bart that he can reverse his image next time he's on, so he can flip it so we're not reading everything backwards. Because I learned that yesterday. Thanks to y'all, and thanks to Jason about flipping everything. So that is it for another go-round of SDH. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this one more time today. Back at it again on Monday morning, 9:05. NPSL interview that's going to be posted to the audio portion of the network. One of the new franchises based in Brooklyn, New York, Osners FC. Great conversation that we had with them yesterday. Gives you a little something to listen to on the weekend. So for everybody here at SDH, play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this.